are showing that free community college is possible. I want to spread that idea all across America so that 2 years of college becomes as free and universal in America as high school is today.
No such thing as free education because you know that ultimately somebody else is going to be paying for that education.
But these bright, qualified young people cannot get a college education for one reason, and that reason is their families do not have adequate income. That is wrong. That has got to end.
Bernie Sanders' proposed College for All Act would provide $47 billion per year to states to eliminate undergraduate tuition and fees at public colleges and universities. Total tuition amounts to $70 billion per year. The federal government will cover 67% of this cost, and the states would be responsible for the rest.
You know, eventually someone has to pay. If you remember in personal finance class, we always talked about, you know, the slogan about there's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, there's no such thing as a free college education, in that someone eventually has to pay. And that's going to be the American taxpayers.
This act would expand work-study reforms and simplify the student aid process.
My name is Aryan Futuhigiyam. I'm from Iran. I was born in Colombia. I lived in Iran for 10 years. I think it's really good in terms of students moving forward in terms of education. Like their parents who have low income are able to see their children go to college for 2 years for free. Yeah, the negative consequences are the high payment of taxes, because the amount of taxes would be raised in order to pay for the college tuition.
The biggest opposing argument against this act is that the value of a college degree would be significantly lower. In Ireland, for example, secondary education tuition is free, but this causes college to be taken much less seriously, as many students go simply because they're told by their parents, or they go without much of a plan. As a result, many Irish colleges experience dropout rates of up to 30%, meaning taxpayers could potentially be wasting money on a student who does not take their education seriously. However, college is unbelievably expensive, making college for many who do not wish to take on a student debt impossible.
You know, I understand that college education has gotten very expensive. I think when you look at inflation rate of tuition, it has exceeded a high amount, and it's obviously outpacing the average inflation rate. It's a 400% inflation rate is the average college tuition during that time. We need to make some steps to make college more affordable. We also need to educate that when you're taking college loans, that your debt should not exceed any more than what you anticipate making.
Bernie Sanders' act is feasible, and it could help college students with crippling debt, which is only accelerating upwards. However, the long-term economic effects can end up hurting more than helping.
The problem with that act and other similar acts that kind of subsidize goods or services is that they overinflate their presence in the market. When you leave the market alone to balance things out, you have the right quantities of each good or substance, or as close to the right quantities as you're going to get. When you fiddle with those quantities, you end up creating as much wealth as you could have had you allowed things to balance out properly. So on the surface, it seems like a good idea because people will get more college education, but the truth of it is that you're simply not going to have as much economic surplus as you would if you simply allowed things to take their natural course.
Generally speaking, education, you really can't go wrong, because there's a lot of statistics to support that in places where governments, state governments, generally speaking, have allowed for there to be more grants for people to be able to get higher education and things like that. That there's been a lot less crime, and there's been a lot more job creation and innovation, and a lot more economic success in those regions, because people have been able to start jobs and stuff like that and really take advantage of those resources.
And in the end, the cost of tuition still only covers less than half of the cost it takes to be a student. Does this act make college free? No, it just makes the cost of living as a student actually reasonable, affordable, and livable, so the students can take on much less debt than they do now, which is already an estimated average of $35,000.